Spider-Man, Spider-Man, Spider-Man. That game looks so freaking incredible, and I had the opportunity to see it played up close and hear more juicy details. What's up, everybody? It's Ghost Robo, and today I'm bringing you 5 things you need to know that you probably didn't know about Spider-Man for PlayStation 4. I got to sit in on a live demo of the game and hear more about it from creative director Brian Intihar, who is a former EGMer, which is awesome because I loved that era of gaming journalism. Anyways, Spider-Man looks absolutely fantastic. It's coming in 2018 for PlayStation 4, and I saw the same demo that you saw, but I got to see it being played up close with a little bit of variety, since obviously there's differences when, you know, someone new is playing it. And it is very, very gorgeous. It was in 4K on PS4 Pro. The game runs at 30, but it still looks absolutely incredible. This is the most fully realized and most awesome looking Spider-Man ever. 5 things, though. Number 1, the city is massive. They realize that Spider-Man is a very fast-moving character, even faster than their Sunset Overdrive characters, Insomniac's most recent big console title. And so they wanted to make sure that this would be an epic city, a giant Manhattan for Spider-Man to explore, and to explore at great speeds. They really needed to have him go super, super fast if they were going to make this work. And if they were going to deliver a true Spider-Man experience, they needed to have his web swinging not be encumbered by a small space of real estate. So you've got a big city. They wouldn't talk about any of the side missions, but they said you can pretty much bet that all of that is going to be there. So a lot of different side activities, you know, citizens in distress, things of that nature, plus the main missions. Number 2, characters are incredibly important. They went over the fact that Peter Parker and Spider-Man, you know, the dichotomy between the two is incredibly important to them. Story is something they really want to focus on. They have the opportunity to do their own version of Spider-Man. Remember, this isn't tied into any movie. This isn't tied into any comic book line. It is their own Spider-Man. He definitely does have the mechanical web shooters, and it definitely is borrowing things from other Spidey universes, but this one is their own, and so they wanted to tell as great of a story as they possibly could. You saw the Miles Morales tease. He is in there. Peter Parker and him are separate characters. They wouldn't really go into detail of how they meet, how they interact, what their relationship is, but they did say that Miles is awesome and that Miles will be in there in some sort of substantial way. So I think that's really cool. Do they eventually team up? How is the interaction between the two? That sounds good. Also, possibly the most interesting tease was someone asked about, is this a greater Marvel universe or just a Spider-Man world? And they talked about how, while you're not going to see any big green guys, Hulk, or any gods, Thor, that there may be some indication that it's a greater Marvel universe. So I don't know if that means phone calls from Tony Stark. I don't know if that means just mentions from citizens on the streets. I don't know if that means an actual mission. But it's cool to know that there may be aspects of other Marvel characters, other Marvel, the greater Marvel universe in this Spider-Man game. And I love that they're putting story and character at such a focus. You know, we played a lot of Spider-Man games in the past. They said they played all of them, and one of their favorites is Spider-Man 2, and that's one of my favorites. And those games were, you know, fast and had great action. Story, you know, was tied to the movies. So getting an original story from Insomniac, I think, is going to be really, really epic. Number 3, most of the gameplay is more of the moment-to-moment being Spider-Man action. In the E3 2017 demo, you see a very cinematic fight, a very cinematic flight through the city, making sure this helicopter does not injure, and that is part of the game, and there are some elements of that, but majority of the game is going to be Spidey crawling on beams and creeping on walls and taking down opponents. So it does have more of that Arkham feel, where there are going to be cinematic moments, there are going to be these big set pieces, but a lot of it is going to be experimenting with Spider-Man's moveset and playing as Spider-Man in Manhattan. So taking down opponents with web shooters, taking down opponents with stealth, being quick and nimble, making sure that you get to take advantage of the progression system. They wouldn't go into it, but they did say that Spider-Man starts as an experienced Spider-Man. He's 23 years old, and he does have a lot of the moves that you saw in the demo from the get-go, but that there is a way to progress beyond that and to upgrade and improve his abilities and acquire new ones, which is fantastic. I cannot wait to see what his full arsenal is. The combat looks really, really great. I love Arkham combat, and while Assassin's Creed Origins is going away from it, and I think it's good for that franchise, I'm excited to see that we're going to have a new superhero that takes advantage of a similar combat system, albeit with a lot more speed. Man, Spidey moves quickly, and someone asked about how are you going to even know what's going on with all of that speed. And they talked about how they really tried to balance it out so that it's fast enough that you feel freaking awesome, but it's contained enough that you can understand what's going on. And it sure seemed like that watching it play live. The guy had no issues maneuvering Spider-Man and making all of his different moves look natural and also look controlled. It wasn't, you know, just freaking out all over the place. And you can just perch and wait, and you can be stealthy. And you can also go in there and drop down and fight. It is very much in that style, I feel, of Arkham Asylum, where you can kind of play it either way. But with Spider-Man's moveset, it's very different. It's very acrobatic, it's very improvisational, and it looked absolutely awesome. Number 4, they're very committed to a true Spider-Man game and to being authentic to Spider-Man. So a couple of things they mentioned: Spider-Man doesn't kill. And this was an interesting point. They talked about, you know, you can grab, you can like kick an enemy off a building and then grab him back and use that to bring him back to the building and then pin him down with webs. But you can also just kick an enemy straight off a skyscraper. And what happens then? They weren't willing to talk about that, but apparently there will be some way that the enemies don't die. And I'm not sure what it could be or why they wouldn't talk about it, if it has to do with a different character, if it has to do with a part of their story. But they did say that no one will be killed in Spider-Man PS4. So when you knock someone off a 1,000-foot skyscraper, apparently they're going to find a way back on, or they're going to be saved in some way. And I have no idea what that could be. I'm very curious to see. But they really want to keep authenticity, and that also takes shape in the web swinging. The webs must attach. That's something that they harped over and over again, is the webs must attach. We've seen in other Spidey games that sometimes it's just like flying through the sky, and they didn't want that for their game. They wanted to make sure that it's always attaching, and they said that there will be, again, a way that even if you're above the height of the skyscrapers, because you can swing far and fast and high, that it will be taken care of. And again, they weren't willing to discuss exactly what that meant, but at some level, it's going to attach. And I wonder how that takes shape for indoor areas. You know, they really want to have all of this swinging, all of this outdoor stuff, and we've seen indoor areas be used as traversal, and that's interesting. And they mentioned that there are more of those. They wanted to capitalize on, you know, allowing Spider-Man to enter internal areas and use them as sort of a quick way to get somewhere else externally and create a very dynamic city, one that didn't just have flat buildings, but he can run up walls and he'll naturally animate over, you know, vents or fire escapes or air conditioning units, things of that sort. But what about interiors? I feel like a game like Arkham City and Arkham Knight nailed having a mix of outdoor and indoor environments, and I wonder if Spidey will be going inside. And that ties into my 5th point, and probably my favorite. You're going to get to play as Peter Parker. They did not directly confirm it, but when asked if you would get to play as Peter Parker, if there would be other playable characters, the creative director smiled big and said, we cannot confirm that, but Peter Parker is an integral part of this game. And look, they without saying it, they said it. You're going to get to play as Peter Parker, and that's super exciting. I wonder if you'll get to play as Miles. I wonder how that interaction will develop, as mentioned earlier, but having both characters is absolutely awesome. I think it really just shows their commitment to the story and a commitment to Spider-Man and the entire plot and the world of Spider-Man. And maybe those are the missions. Maybe those are the points where you get to explore more indoor areas. Maybe Spidey as Spidey is always outside, and he always explores different parts of Manhattan aerially, and, you know, day, night, construction sites, skyscrapers, bridges, things of that sort. And then maybe Peter Parker does some of the inside stuff. And what I'm curious to know is, will those Peter Parker sections be all story-based, or will they be investigative, or will they be combat as well, or how will they mix the two, and what kind of crazy thing could they do where the two sort of interlink? You know, they talked about the always existing Spider-Man balance of, like, when things are going good for Spider-Man, they seem to be going bad for Peter Parker. When things are going good for Peter Parker, they seem to be going bad for Spider-Man. So how will that take shape in a game world, especially if you can play as both characters? How will that work? And I'm freaking over the moon excited for this game. I'm a little bummed that it is coming at an unannounced date in 2018, but I think that they are putting so much time and care. They talked about how Sunset Overdrive gave them a foundation for this city, open world, traversal movement type game, and that they were able to build from that. And it doesn't borrow the systems of Sunset Overdrive, but it did give them the opportunity to know what they were doing, and then kind of go the sky's the limit from there. So Peter Parker and Spider-Man, you know, it's much more of an acrobatic, much more parkour, swinging through the city, but they got some of their chops from Sunset Overdrive. And I just love this fact that the story emphasis, right? The gameplay being a little bit of both, right? Mostly combat as Spider-Man, navigating the city as Spider-Man, but also these incredible cinematic moments that are movie-like without being tied to a movie whatsoever. And then some of the teases as playing as Peter himself, maybe some tie-in to something else Marvel, and whatever else goes on in that city. A huge cast of characters, they said, so a lot of different villains, a lot of people to interact with. I think it's going to be absolutely awesome. Let me know what you are most excited about for Spider-Man PS4 in the comments down below. Hit that like button if you're pumped for the game. I think it is going to be absolutely epic. I have full faith in Brian Intar and Insomniac after seeing that presentation, seeing it being played live. It's one to definitely mark on your calendar at some point in 2018. Heck, put it on every day. It's that darn good. Until next time, everybody, thanks so much for watching. I appreciate all of you. I'm glad we got to share E3 together. It's been a great show, and I'll have more for you. More videos, more gameplay, more news. Until that time, drink so much. Thanks again. I love you, and we will see you all later.